So graphing linear equations, and we are now going to use slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So our m stands for our slope, which we've been learning about, which we know our m is our slope. Our b value is our y-intercept. So that's our new part that is being added. So remember that slope is always your rise over your run, and that it's always written as y over x. So whatever I go up or down, and whatever I go to the left or to the right. Now, remember we made up that our slope is our movement or our move. So that's where you're rising, you're running, you're doing all that. That's how you find your additional points. Now on here, a y-intercept is always going to be written as 0, comma, that number. Because if you were to plot that point, let's say it was like 0, comma, 2, you would go up 2 on your graph, and it would be the point 0, comma, 2, which would be your y-intercept. That's always your base. So that B stands for your base. That's always your starting spot. Just like how an airplane is at an airport, that's its base. It stays there, it departs from there, and then you rise up from there. So the 4 steps that you have to remember is rewrite the equation in y equals mx plus b. So if it does not have y by itself and it's not written in y equals mx plus b, you have to change it so that you can get y by itself. Your second part is to identify the slope, which is your m, and identify the y-intercept, which is your b. Your third step is to plot the y-intercept, which is your b value. And then you want to use the slope to plot additional points. So we're going to use this foldable right here to, you might want to glue it in when you are done. We're going to use here our foldable right here to practice. So we have our first one, which is y equals 2x plus 3. So we see that our slope, or our equation, is y equals mx plus b. So we don't have to change anything. We first have to identify our slope. So our slope, I'm going to box, is always that 2. So you might want to remember that 2 is really saying it's 2 over 1. So it's a positive 2, and it's got to face this direction. So the way that my pen is facing, that's the direction it's going to face. Now my y-intercept is going to be a little bit different. I notice that it's a plus 3. So I need to write it as an intercept. So how you write y-intercepts is it's always 0, comma, that number. So it's going to be 0, comma, 3. So my third step, so after I identify my slope and my y-intercept, I have to plot the y-intercept. So I'm going to look at my graph, and I'm going to notice this is my origin. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. So that is my first point. I'm going to plot it in blue, so I'm acknowledging that's my first point. So to find the rest of my points, I have to use my slope. So I'm going to start from my y-intercept, and I have to make it positive because the slope is positive. So I'm going to go up 2 to the right 1, because that would make it so it's positive 2, positive 1. So it's still a positive slope. I also could go from the y-intercept and go down 2 and to the left 1 because of the fact that's a negative 2 and a negative 1, which still makes it a positive. So I went down 2 to the left 1. I can continue going down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1. And that would be my line. So I'm going to do this again. My slope is the 1/2. And then, so I'm going to write that down. My slope is 1/2. I notice it's in y equals mx plus b, so I can start circling this. I have a plus 3, which is going to be my y-intercept, which is 0, comma, 3. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept first. So I go up 1, 2, 3. Now my slope is a positive 1 over a positive 2. So I'm going to go up 1 to the right 2, which would be 1 point. I could go up again, up 1 over 2. I could also start back at the y-intercept and go down 1, which is a negative, to the left 2, which would also be a negative. I could go down 1 to the left 2, and that would be my line. Okay, I'm going to go to my next example. So I have y equals 3x plus 1. It is in slope-intercept form, so I don't have to change anything. I'm going to identify my slope, which is right next to my x, which is 3, which really means it's 3 over 1. I have my y-intercept, which is a plus 1, so I'm going to write it as 0, 1. So that means I'm going to go up 1 on my y-axis. So I'm going to go 0, 1. So I'm going to plot my point, which is at my y-intercept of 0, 1. I'm going to use my slope to find my next points. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1. Now, on this graph, I cannot continue, so I'm going to make more points underneath the y-intercept. So I'm going to go down 3, which is a negative 3, to the left 1, down 3, to the left 1, and that would make my line. Notice that my line is facing the positive direction, so I did it correctly. My next one, my slope is going to be a negative 2, because my equation is in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to write negative 2. That means it's a negative 2 over 1. My intercept is that negative 2. So I'm going to write 0, negative 2. So I'm going to start at 0, negative 2. I'm going to go down 2 to the right 1 because I have a negative and a positive, which still would give me a negative. I'm going to go back to the y-intercept. I'm going to go up 2, which is a positive, and to the left 1, which is a negative. So now it's a negative slope. I'm going to go up 2 to the left 1, up 2 to the left 1. And if you notice, it's facing a different direction and it's facing the way that would make it a negative slope. So these next two equations, you can see that they're not in y equals mx plus b. So how we would do that is we want to make sure that we get y by itself. So I'm first going to make sure that y is by itself. So I'm going to subtract that 2x to both sides. So I have y equals a negative 2x plus 3. Now I notice that my equation is now in y equals mx plus b, so my slope is negative 2. My y-intercept is this plus 3, so it's a 0, 3. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, because it's a negative slope, I'm going to go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. That would make it a negative. I also could go up 2, which is positive, to the right, or to the left 1, which would also make it negative. Last one, I want to try to get y by itself because it's not in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides because it was a positive x. So I subtract 4x on both sides. So I have y equals negative 4x plus 2. So my slope is negative 4. My y-intercept is 2. So I'm going to make sure I write down 2, or not 2. I'm going to write down negative 4. And my intercept is 0, 2. I'm going to start at 2, 0, 2. So because it's a negative 4, I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, because that would be a negative 4, and then a positive 1, which would make it negative. I also, I can't really go down anymore on this graph, so I would just leave it, because 2 points on a line make 2 points on a graph make a line. So you could leave it as that.